Ted, what percentage of parents have said they've made a financial sacrifice to help their adult kids?
68%, which I thought was really high. Some of the specific categories included sacrificing emergency savings. 51% said that. 49% said they've sacrificed their debt payoff efforts, and 43% say this assistance has been detrimental to their retirement savings. A lot of people, of course, picked more than one of those. But yeah, there's a lot of agreement here.
Ted, how do you define helping an adult child with money? I know that seems like a dumb question to ask, but I'm just curious if there was a standard definition that you used as far as, is there a certain amount? Like, how'd you phrase the question?
Yeah, it was actually pretty vague, so it was really in the eye of the beholder in terms of what constitutes a sacrifice. Unfortunately, we don't really have specifics in terms of how much people were giving or what exactly the money was used for. But I do think it's significant that so many parents of adult children said they are making sacrifices. So to me, this seems to gravitate beyond just, a little bit of help. Like the word sacrifice, I think at least implies that there is a significant lift here. And it really brings to mind that thing they say on the airplane about put your oxygen mask on before helping others, because that's what I worry about is that, of course, parents want to help their kids and they want to be empathetic. But if it's setting back their own financial goals, that's not a good thing, and that can become kind of circular. Maybe they're asking for help from their kids down the line. I also worry that maybe this is enabling some, whether you call it bad behavior or failure to launch. I mean, you don't want to be a blank check. You want your kids to be self-sufficient at some point, even if you want to help along the way.
There's a sentence in here that I want to dig into as well, just because we've talked about this a lot on the show, that it's always in vogue to rip on the financial habits of the youngest generation in the workforce, and so I'd like to do that here if possible. Gen Z believes that young adults should begin to pay their bills later in life than older generations do, but they may be putting off financial independence as a result. What exactly does this mean when it says Gen Z believes that they should pay their bills later in life than other generations?
We asked people, at what age do you think you should pay your own way for certain things? We asked about cell phone bills, car insurance, housing costs, health insurance, a few other things. And pretty much across the board, Gen Zers gave ages that were about 2 years older than what boomers said. And I think some of it is maybe a little tongue-in-cheek. It's like, young adults like, hey, can I stay on the cell phone plan for another year or two? Or Mom and Dad, can you pay my car insurance another year or two? I mean, some of it's maybe self-serving. Some of it, I think, does reflect, though, the financial pressures that young adults are under.
Isn't there a case to be made that every generation has financial pressures? I mean, look, I remember when I was graduating from college, and it was heading right into the teeth of the financial crisis, and, the one before us was right into the dot-com bubble, and before that you had coming out of the 70s, which was, a horrible period to come of age in as well. Doesn't every generation have some kind of financial issue that hits in their first 10 years after college?
There is some of that, like remember walking uphill in the snow both ways to school. I mean, I think there is some kind of cliche to that. And I'm an older millennial, so maybe I don't have a lot of skin in this particular game, but I do empathize with Gen Zers and younger millennials just in the sense that student loan burdens are higher than ever. Yep. Rent is super expensive. I do think even if you adjust for inflation, I do think there is somewhat of a point there that like boomers just weren't facing quite the same burden when they were young. I mean, it's always hard starting out, but I do think there's maybe something unique to some of the costs that young adults are facing nowadays.
Very good. Ted, appreciate you joining us, and thanks so much for the time.
Of course. Thank you.
That is Ted Rossman from Bankrate.